Hey everyone, welcome back to Tan's Top 10 channel. I am sorry for the lack of videos the past couple of weeks. I have a couple of life updates that I'll share with you guys in a little bit. So in my last video, I announced that my wife and I were going on our honeymoon down to the Dominican Republic. That was awesome, had a total blast, except for I came back with salmonella poisoning. So I was out for about 3 to 4 weeks feeling like absolute crap. Salmonella poisoning is terrible. It makes you feel like ass. And I had to go to the walk-in 3 times, and finally they diagnosed me with salmonella poisoning. So right when I started feeling good, about 4 weeks later, my wife started to feel like crap. She started having some flu-like symptoms. So we both went and got tested, and we both tested positive for COVID. So now, for the past week, we have been quarantining, and today is our last day of being quarantined. We are both feeling a lot better. I had a little bit of a cough. She had way worse symptoms. She was pretty bedridden for a couple of days, but she's doing a lot better now. So, yeah, the past couple, I'd say about a month, has been pretty shitty with, especially my body. But I am feeling a lot better now, and that is why I am in front of the camera again. And right before I started feeling symptoms of salmonella, I was able to see SpiderMan No Way Home, biggest movie of 2021. I really enjoyed it, except I did start feeling really cold in the theater. I think that was one of the symptoms from the salmonella poisoning, so that kind of sucked. But other than that, really enjoyed the movie, and that is why today we're going to be doing my top 10 Spider-Man movies of all time. We also have Morbius that was supposed to be coming out in January this month. That got delayed to April, I believe. I'm not really looking forward to it, so it didn't really bug me. But I figured with No Way Home, that came out a couple weeks ago, I thought this would be a good list to make. There are 11 movies on this list that I came up with, so I have one dishonorable mention kicking off the list, and that is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is the reboot with Andrew Garfield. This is my dishonorable mention at number 11, you could say. I just think this movie's boring. Andrew Garfield is really good casting, so is Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. I think they have really good chemistry. Other than that, this movie does nothing good. I think the Lizard is a terrible villain. He's got a stupid plan. I just think this movie's boring. I think everything they tried to do in this movie, Sam Raimi did better 10 years earlier. So there's a movie at number 10 that's way worse, but at least I don't find it boring. So Amazing Spider-Man, that's pretty much the only movie on this entire list I don't really ever feel like rewatching. I don't even think the action sequences are even that interesting or like exciting. It's just boring. I don't know. Maybe Andrew Garfield was awesome. Emma Stone was awesome. Other than that, the movie drags for me. So, kicking off the list at number 10 is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, this is undoubtedly a way worse movie, story-wise and everything, compared to The Amazing Spider-Man. I just don't think this one's boring. I would rather rewatch this one. And actually, when this one first came out, when I watched it on Blu-ray, I actually really enjoyed it. This came out in 2014. I would have been a senior in high school. I was stupid back then because this movie is not good. Jamie Foxx as Electro sucks. He's a terrible villain. The Rhino sucks as a villain. Green Goblin, I like the final battle with him and the spoilers, Gwen Stacy death. I think all that is handled really well. I think Andrew Garfield is still awesome as Spider-Man and Peter Parker, but this movie is just a mess. There's way too much stuff going on in here. It's not good. Coming in at number 9 is going to be SpiderMan 3. I'm sorry, this is a collection, so I kind of gotta just go by, do it like this. SpiderMan 3 is my number 9. This is one of the most disappointing movies of all time for me. I absolutely love Spider-Man 1 and 2. You'll see those much higher on this list. Spider-Man 3 could have ended that trilogy perfectly. It could have been an amazing trilogy, one of the best. but they just threw in way too many characters with Venom, Sandman, Gwen Stacy. I don't know why she was in that movie. There's just too much stuff going on, too many plot points. I think Venom, he could have been awesome in that movie, but he doesn't need to be in there. Get him out of there. Same with Sandman. Sandman's just not a great villain. He's kind of just boring and it's just sand. Like, that's not interesting. I think they should have just had Harry being the Green Goblin, the new Goblin. I think that would have been awesome for him to be the main villain and for them to focus that story on him and Peter and MJ. So what we got, I still enjoy it a lot. It's pretty nostalgic for me. I used to watch it all the time, but it's just a disappointing ending to what could have been one of the best superhero trilogies of all time. So from here on up, these are all movies that I pretty much enjoy and could rewatch almost any day of the week. And so coming in at number 8 is Venom. I am including both Venom movies on this list. I know Spider-Man technically isn't in them, but it's the Spider-Man universe. I'm counting it. So Venom, I really enjoy this movie. It's not a great movie. It's just not a great movie. But Tom Hardy, I fucking love Tom Hardy. He is like my favorite actor. This movie would not work at all if there was any other actor in this role. Tom Hardy makes this movie. Him and Venom together, which I think they handle better in the sequel, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I think their chemistry, Venom and Eddie Brock, is perfect in this movie. The villain sucks. I'm also not a big fan of the end battle between Riot and Venom, since Venom's black, Riot's like dark gray. You can't see shit what's going on. You can't tell who's who. But it's only like a 90-minute fun comic book movie. It's got some funny jokes in there, so it's not a great movie, but I really enjoyed it, especially in theaters. Speaking of theaters, number 7 is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I really love this steelbook. This thing is beautiful. I saw Venom, Let There Be Carnage in theaters. When did that come out? In October, I think. I had a blast with this movie. It's like I said, neither of these Venom movies are great movies, but goddamn are they enjoyable. I think this one improves on the relationship between Eddie and Venom, kind of making it like a rom-com with their chemistry and their relationship. So I think that's really funny. Carnage, big disappointment. He could have been so much more badass. I think everyone thinks this movie should have been rated R, which it should have been if you have Carnage as your main villain. So I don't think he was utilized that well. And his relationship with Screech, found it boring. But the relationship between Eddie and Venom really elevates this. And I think the final battle between Carnage and Venom, pretty badass. So I could rewatch this one pretty soon. I think I haven't watched it since theaters, but I really enjoyed it. Coming in at number 6 is Spider-Man Far From Home. I actually rewatched this one recently with my wife. I really enjoy this one. It's probably it is my least favorite out of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but I still really like it. I think Mysterio is an awesome villain. I like that they get out of New York City and go to Europe, and like Spider-Man being in Europe, I think that was kind of fun. And the whole trip, high school trip, I thought that added a lot of comedy too. Where this movie falls flat for me, I don't really like that they're still doing the whole Tony Stark created this villain, like this villain's mad at Tony Stark, so that's why I'm bad. I think it works okay in this movie because it's Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio, and Jake Gyllenhaal is awesome in this movie. I also don't like, spoiler alert, that Nick Fury is a Skrull in this movie, and that actual Nick Fury is off in space. I didn't really like that at the mid-credit scene or whatever that was, that reveal. I didn't really like that. But the whole end battle with the drones and everything, visually that's awesome. I really like that. And the whole like Mysterio messing with Spider-Man's head and all those visuals, especially with Tony Stark's like skeleton that was messed up, but really cool as well. So I really enjoy this one, but it is definitely my least favorite out of the Tom Holland 3. Coming in at number 5 is Spider-Man Homecoming. When this first came out, I would have told you that this was my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I've rewatched it a couple times since, and it's every time I kind of like it a little bit less. Tom Holland is awesome in this movie as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I really like the high school setting, pretty much like a John Hughes-esque Spider-Man movie. That's awesome. Vulture is one of the MCU's best villains. Michael Keaton is just awesome in general. So him playing Vulture just elevates it that much more. And the cool twist reveal that he's Peter's crush's dad, that's awesome. Did not see that coming in theaters. And this movie's just fun, pretty lighthearted, not a lot of high stakes. I just wish that they would. Well, I just wish that they didn't really use Iron Man Tony in it as much. I feel like they're pretty dependent on Peter's relationship with Tony a little too much. I wish Peter would kind of just go off and be his own Spider-Man instead of being kind of like a Spider-Boy. So that's a little disappointing, but I don't. It's just a fun, lighthearted movie that I still get a lot of enjoyment out of. Coming in at number 4 is SpiderMan 2002, the first Spider-Man movie. This is one of the best introductions to superhero and superhero world I've ever seen in a movie. I think Sam Raimi knocked it out of the park with casting, the world building, the tone, the action. This first Spider-Man movie just really set up the Spider-Man world perfectly, I think. Sam Raimi, great job. First of all, you got Tobey Maguire, my Spider-Man. Love him. I think he was awesome as Peter Parker and really fun as Spider-Man as well. You know, he's got the build and everything. I think the suit on him looks awesome. I really like the Sam Raimi suit. Probably my favorite Spider-Man suit I've seen on screen. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to think about that. But I think Kirsten Dunst is awesome as MJ. Her chemistry with Tobey Maguire, great. And there's 2 perfect castings in this movie, though. First off, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. Probably my favorite Spider-Man villain on screen that we've seen. I know a lot of people would say Doc Ock. I think I just like Green Goblin like just touch more. I think Willem Dafoe, I just prefer him as an actor over Alfred Molina. So, plus he's from Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin. Willem Dafoe, he's top tier for me. So, anyways, perfect casting. Yes, his suit, the Power Ranger-esque Green Goblin suit, doesn't really hold up, but I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. I watched it a shit ton as a kid. My uncle had it on DVD, so also perfect casting. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Hell yes. That's another reason why I think the Amazing Spider-Man and Tom Holland Spider-Man movies just don't really feel like comic book Spider-Man. Like, there's just not a lot of world building in them. Like, you need the Daily Bugle, you need J.K. Simmons, or J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, my apologies. I feel like you need that world to help create who Peter Parker is as a character. So I think Sam Raimi, once again, said it before, knocked it out of the park. So that first Spider-Man movie, I have a lot of nostalgia for it. Still holds up pretty damn well. It's a little camp in there, but I think it holds up and kind of just adds to how well Sam Raimi is as a director. Coming in at number 3 is the new one, Spider-Man No Way Home. This is one of the most hyped up, anticipated superhero movies of all time. I think the trailer is like the most watched movie trailer of all time on YouTube, so that's insane. This is pretty much like endgame levels of excitement, and when it first was announced, I was that hyped. I was endgame levels hyped. But as it got closer to the release date, my anticipation kind of just like, I don't know, like I was like excited to see it. I had tickets bought, pre-ordered for the first showing Thursday night. But I was just like, I don't know, like I feel like I'm kind of getting MCU'd out a little bit. So I went in with tempered expectations and I left this movie pleasantly and I was so surprised with how much I enjoyed this movie. Obviously, there's some reveals. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen No Way Home yet, it's been out for almost a month now. So spoilers. Pretty much going in knowing that Andrew Garfield and Tobey were in it. I was still shocked when they showed up They knocked it out of the park. I'm glad they were in the movie as much as they were. They were like in it for almost half the movie, I'd say. So love that. I'm glad they didn't just pop in for one action scene and then go out of the movie. I mean, could you guys imagine if they didn't have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in this movie? How much rage would be on the internet from all the fans and people who are looking forward to seeing them in this movie? Like if they just couldn't get Tobey Maguire back, if they only had Andrew Garfield in it, or if they didn't have either of them in it, I really want to see what that would have like looked like on the internet. People would have lost their shit. I also think that they did a great job bringing back the villains, especially Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. Fucking knocked it out of the park. He almost made this movie for me. Like he was one of my favorite parts of this movie. I also think Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, he was handled awesome. They improved on Jamie Foxx's Electro. He's so much better in this movie than he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Lizard and Sandman, not that great, but they were kind of mediocre villains anyways, so I wasn't really looking forward to seeing them again. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely can't wait to rewatch it. I haven't gone back to theaters yet to see it. I've only seen it once, so I'll probably just wait until it comes out on 4K, and I'll watch it here with my wife. Gonna have to do a lot of explaining to her about, because she's never seen the Tobey movies or the Andrew Garfield movies, so I'm going to do a lot of explaining to her about all this. So overall, really enjoyed No Way Home, and with a rewatch, it could possibly scooch up more, or I don't know. But I think this is a good spot for it right now, though. Number 3, No Way Home. All right, top 2. This was so difficult to decide. I love both of these movies equally, and if I watched one, that movie could be at number 1 one day, and if I watch the other, that one could be at number 1 that day as well. So I don't like deciding this, but as of right now, my number 2 Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I fucking love this movie. It is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. So surprising how good this movie was. Sony hasn't really handled their Spider-Man properties that well. This came out in 2018, so it would have been like Venom, both the Amazing Spider-Man movies, SpiderMan 3. They didn't make a good Spider-Man movie since 2004 with Spider-Man 2. So not that much anticipation going into this. I was blown away by this movie seeing in theaters, and I liked it even more watching it at home on 4K with my wife. She loved it as well, so that just makes it even that much better that she likes it. And I'm so excited for Across the Spider-Verse. I think that's what it's called, Part 1, that we're getting later this year. So excited for that. But it's just cool that we got Miles Morales' story. Miles is such an awesome character in this, and they develop him really well with the relationship with his dad and his uncle. That was very heartfelt. I love Peter Parker, Peter B. Parker, I think that's what they call him in the movie. Jake Johnson knocked it out of the park with that, with the voiceover and that, or voiceover. You know what I mean. I can't talk. I can't think right now. Gwen Stacy, or Spider-Gwen, she was awesome in this as well. All the characters, fucking Nicolas Cage as Spider-Noir. Yes, please. Fucking Spider-Ham. There he is right there. Fuck yes. Knocked it out of the park. Spider-Man Across, or Into the Spider-Verse. Number 2. God damn, it's so hard not to put that at number 1, but pretty much my number 1 and number 2 are tied for number 1. Just know that, okay? But my number 1 as of today is Spider-Man 2 from 2004. Fuck, this is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Still holds up. Goddamn, amazing action. They take everything from Spider-Man 1 and just make it that much better. They expand on the world, the characters, the relationships between the characters. MJ going on with her acting career. Harry with his dad's death in the first movie and trying to get revenge on Spider-Man, trying to figure out who Spider-Man was, and they actually fucking find out. He actually finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, and that whole reveal, that was so shocking when I first saw that movie. I was like 10 years old, and I was blown away by this movie. So it's a lot of nostalgia. I've seen this movie countless times. But I think Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is a great villain. I still like Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin a little bit better, but Doc Ock, so badass. The action scenes in this movie are some of the best in any comic book movie or movie in general. The whole train sequence, incredible, still holds up. All the visual effects, and it's all mostly in-camera practical effects besides, a lot of his arms and stuff from further shots, CGI, you can tell. But most of it, all that in-camera action, it just holds up to this day. You can't beat that. So Spider-Man 2, fuck, I could gush about this movie so much. Soundtrack, Dashboard Confidential? Is that what the band's called? Vindicated, awesome song. There's a train song on this soundtrack called Ordinary. I used to listen to that song all the fucking time as a kid. So Spider-Man 2, it's just, they took everything from that first movie and just did it better. I fucking love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. If I made a list, it would probably be in my top 50. But goddamn, I kind of want to go watch this movie right now. I might actually go do that while I'm editing this video. So Spider-Man 2 from 2004, fucking Sam Raimi knocking it out of the park, is my #1 Spider-Man movie of all time. Well guys, that is my top 10 Spider-Man movies list. Please share down below what your ranking would be. I'm sure this is pretty different for a lot of people, especially since people grew up with the Raimi movies, with the Andrew Garfield movies, and with Tom Holland movies. So kind of interested to see what you guys would rank these movies. So please share down below what you would rank them. Also, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I am sorry for the lack of content lately, but like I said, I was pretty much feeling like I was going to die with that salmonella poisoning. COVID, not as bad as I thought it'd be. Light cough, other than that, I felt pretty fine. But I'm just glad I was able to get this video out to you guys. So I'll have more videos out soon, and as always, we'll see you next time.